Welcome to the show, Solomon Dibaba and Esther Kasai. Our discussion today emanates from the recently earthquake occurred in Ethiopia, some a location known as Fantale, which is 150 kilometers away from Addis Ababa. According to experts of the field, the earthquake was measured by Richter scale at 4.9. Which is, according to them, is very minor, small. But some media outlets in Egypt have tried to associate this earthquake with the Ethiopian Grand Renaissance Dam. And they claim that some sort of earthquake might occur around the project GERD. What do you think is the motive of this kind of reporting?
To express my views on the issue under consideration that is related to the recent earthquake that has erupted in about 150 kilometers from Addis Ababa on a locality called Fantale on the border between Afar and Oromia region. Before I give my opinion on the motive behind the propaganda ploy on the recent earthquake that has occurred on the location that I've just mentioned, I think it is very important to give a glimpse of the setting of the earthquake itself. As we all know, the Ethiopia is dissected by the Great Rift Valley to the east of the country with two fault lines to the east and to the west. The current location where the earthquake has erupted is located on the southeastern flank of the Great Rift Valley, which has been created by the volcanic eruption in the formation of the geospatial aspect of the area. Now, if we look at the Fantale area and the mountains around it, it's about 600 kilometers away from the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam and about 150 kilometers from Addis Ababa. The tremor was felt here in Addis Ababa and some part of Amhara region, but the actual eruption did not occur in Addis Ababa. This has been clearly identified by the Addis Ababa University Geospatial Observatory, the Ethiopian Geological Institute, and also the experts at Samara University, and also by the general manager of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, Engineer Kifre Horo. So the fact that the setting indicates is that the location on which GERD is established is far away from the location on which the actual earthquake has erupted. On the other hand, GERD was established in 2011 with a proper investigation of everything that is required to construct such a grandeur dam on the exact location whereby investigation has been made to international standard that the area is free from seismic interruption and is safe. This has always been proved by scientists from various countries, including from the United States of America. Now, therefore, trying to relate the earthquake with GERD is not only technically fallacious, but is also a propaganda ploy and commercialization of the issue, and in fact, trying to disinform, trying to depict a false assertion that is not in favor of the people of Egypt and the Horn of Africa at large. Therefore, the question is, what is the motive behind this? I think it is a mere politicization of otherwise technical and developmental program that Ethiopia has launched in view of developing the dam for mutual benefit of both Sudan and Egypt, as well as the rest of the riparian countries. On the other hand, this is interrelated with the intention or motive of the Egyptian authorities as part of the containment policy that they have devised to relate everything that is surrounded by GERD to some sort of political issue, while the truth is that GERD was established with the intention of benefiting everyone for mutual economic, social development, and has nothing to do with politics. On the other hand, it is pity to witness that even a professor at Cairo University that specializes on geology and water resources has tried to assert that such type of earthquake that has occurred in Fantale might as well occur near GERD. As I've stated earlier, GERD has not been established out of the blue. It was established through rigorous investigation of the seismic compliance of the project itself. And therefore, it is just futile and propagandistic to assert that GERD is vulnerable to any kind of seismic crisis that could occur at any time in the future.
Dasta, Solomon has discussed the issue very well. But this is not the first time for Egyptian officials and also the media in that country are engaged in such kind of misinformation. There are also other pressures in the international arena, like the United Nations Security Council and other forums. Would you please discuss about this thing?
Yeah, as Mr. Solomon has already raised multiple of issues regarding to the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam and its benefits, while on the contrary, Egyptian officials and the mainstream media engage in deviating from the fact and engaging in what is seems to be a camouflage topic, so that doesn't benefit anyone, including the Egyptians. Now, let's point out one of the major points, as Mr. Solomon has been discussing. One, the recent earthquake happened hundreds of kilometers away from the Ethiopian Grand Renaissance Dam. One. And the second thing, as you have already even raised it, it is of insignificant level in terms of earthquake. It is a 4.9 Richter scale. In all this, it doesn't really affect the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Beyond that, Ethiopia has already in compliance to the international standards of dam, which the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam incorporates its seismic safety in place, which anyone can understand that over the years, technological advancements, including the construction of dams and so on, always improve. So we have the better and sophisticated materials and even equipments in terms of seismic safety in place in Gerd than in Aswan Dam, because of the span of time in between their constructions. And the other thing is that in the location, in the geographical location where the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is built, there has never been earthquake recorded in any time so far. So this all is a fictitious thing that the Egyptians are raising, particularly the mainstream media, not all the Egyptians, because I consider whoever it is, the Egyptians or the Ethiopians or the Sudanese or even the people of the upper stream countries, they do have similar aspiration. Their aspirations align together, which is mutual respect, mutual interest, mutual development, and prosperity. And the Egyptian officials tend to step away from that, and they are using to politicize that. Let's see some of the things they used to politicize. They even just took it further than that. They just took it to the United Nations Security Councils, not once or twice, multiple times, which they were declined and rejected. It's not a matter of security. However, when they are doing all this, it is in contrary to what they have signed an agreement in 2015 in Khartoum, the Declaration of Principles. They will be abided through a trilateral negotiations, which Ethiopia has consistently believed and stood firm in good faith, because Ethiopia, this is not the first time that Ethiopia has stood for its neighbors and its African brothers. It is a principle of its foreign policy and national interest. Being an African, you have to share what is the shared resource. You have to grow together. But the Egyptian officials tend to put that topic as a topic of conflict instead of a topic of integration and economic benefit for the greater East African bloc. And this is not the first time that we see the Egyptian officials and mainstream media to engage in such issues. So it's no wonder that they are engaging in this, but they also know that there is no time in place, especially at this time where there is an emerging technology that everyone can know the fact in an infinitesimal of seconds. So it's no fact, it's fictitious, it's baseless, and they are tending to shift the goalpost when they are called for a negotiation. So my saying on this is, for the Egyptians, we are brothers and sisters. We can grow together on sharing the natural resource we share together, based on a reasonable utilization of the Nile River water. And you should accept this and return to negotiations. That's the best way forward, I suppose.
Yeah, you mentioned about negotiation, which Ethiopia has been reiterating for the last 13 years. Now, as following the enactment of the CFA agreement, now the Nile Basin Commission is about to be established. And this is one of the demonstration of these countries for cooperation, negotiation, and developing shared resources together. What is your view regarding the CFA, and would that be beneficial for Egypt and Sudan?
I think CFA is in congruence with Ethiopia's original motive of using trans-boundary rivers for the benefit of all riparian countries. It is no secret that Ethiopia was behind the establishment of the Nile Basin Initiative and, of course, the CFA, and has been actively working towards developing a framework in which all the riparian countries, the 11 riparian countries, including Ethiopia, would benefit from the natural resource, the Nile River in this case, for their mutual socio-economic development. It must be stressed that no country in Africa, and particularly the Nile riparian countries, cannot develop on their own single-handedly. They need to cooperate because they have common problems. They need to pool their resources, human and material resources, together so that they could develop and sustain and try to work hand in hand in the process of alleviation of poverty from Africa and from the Horn of Africa in particular. You see, Ethiopia's foreign policy of good neighborliness is a top priority in the foreign policy objective of the country. And this coincides with both CFA and the authority that is to be established in the near future to legally recognize the cooperation between these countries for joint development of the water resources of the Nile. This is also to the benefit of the strategic interest of the African population under the auspices of the African Union. Ethiopia is already engaged in economic integration by developing GERD and other hydroelectric power stations to generate power for future strategic industrial development in the Horn of Africa and Africa at large. So trying to manipulate the issue, trying to misinform both the Egyptian population and the entire international community at large would only do a disservice to the interest of Africa, to the interest of the Egyptian people, and of course to the interest of the Ethiopian people. What is strategically important is cooperation. because without cooperation, the people of Africa cannot pool their resources together. These resources have been pillaged for thousands of years. But it is high time now that Africans pool their resources together, cooperate and integrate their economies to make peaceful economic development that is of vital importance for the strategic interest of the people of Africa. It is only through this pathway of peace that development can come to the Horn of Africa, to the Egyptian people, and to the African population at large. By the way, Ethiopia's quest for developing GERD and other development programs coincides effectively with Agenda 2063 that has been developed and approved by the African Union. At the same time, the African Free Trade Area is also encompasses such cooperation in trade, cultural integration, and other areas. And therefore, trying to politicize this and resorting to some kind of containment policy on Ethiopia is not only dangerous for the peaceful relations between the neighboring countries, it is also very dangerous for the peaceful development, security, and mutual development of the countries of the Horn of Africa.
Desta, would you please add something regarding the implications of CFA and its ultimate goal, which is the establishment of the Commission? Do Egypt and Sudan have other alternatives than joining this agreement?
Well, I think when we talk about mutual benefit, Ethiopia has more than half of its population are in darkness. It is looking to light up more than half of its population. Whereas in comparison to that, Egypt has 100% of access to electricity to its population. Now, this is not only a legal basis, but a moral basis. Egypt has to abide to such kind of requests by Ethiopia. Egypt should have even supported in many other ways for Ethiopia to at least reach out for its populations for the access to electricity. But Ethiopia is not requesting anything else, rather to use its natural right to benefit from the Nile Basin water. So in this case, not only is it beneficial for Ethiopia, but also for Sudan and Egypt. In terms of, for example, it reduces flooding to Sudan and Egypt. And it maintains sustainable flow of water, because GERD is not a project that consumes water. It is a hydroelectric power that recycles water and goes on. It never stops. So there is a sustainable flow of water for Egypt and Sudan, in contrary to what Egyptian officials tend to say, that in times of drought or in time of severe drought, which has never been witnessed throughout the history of the Nile River. So within laying all this, Ethiopia is saying, let's come all together and let's ratify the cooperative framework agreement, and let's be bound by the laws that we devise together and share the shared natural resource of Nile River water. However, Egypt tend to say no at all time. Though there was a deviation of stand with regard to Sudan. But the good news is that 6 countries have already ratified the cooperative framework agreement, and they are devising the ways to forward it to the United Nations and the African Union. Then in a near future, it will go into force. So at this point in time, what we can say is that our Egyptian and Sudanese brothers have no other choice than joining the cooperative framework agreement and benefit equally with the rest of the Nile Basin countries. They can't continue with what they have been saying, which has no base, which has no ground at all. They can't stay stuck at history with the 1959 unilateral agreement. They say agreement. I don't know who they agreed with. So the best way to move forward for all the countries, including Egypt and Sudan, is come out of their shell and join the CFA and move forward where they all can benefit equally.